You're listening to the Harmony of We, a space for remembering what we already are together. I'm Greg Kuiper, counselor, author, and fellow traveler in this ongoing field of being human. This podcast isn't about fixing. It's not about getting relationships right. It's about coming into resonance with yourself, with each other, and with the presence that lives in between. This is where the book Relationship, the Harmony of We continues, in breath, in story, and in shared awareness. Hi, welcome. I'm glad you're here. In the last episode, we stepped into a moment where two people didn't quite meet, where something real was offered and just barely missed. And often, what matters just as much is what happens next. There's a moment in relationships that doesn't get much attention. It's not the moment where something clearly goes wrong. It's not the moment where voices rise or tension become visible or something happens that both people would point to and say, that's what we need to talk about. It's quieter than that. It's the moment that comes after something small didn't quite land. And most of the time, it passes without being named, but it doesn't disappear. It lingers just beneath the surface. And if you slow things down enough, you can feel it. That subtle sense that something between you shifted just slightly. Let's go back for a moment. Remember last time we talked about the couple that had the small interaction. They were questioning going on a walk together, remember? There was a simple response. The one person reached and the other didn't quite meet it. Nothing dramatic, no conflict happened, but something that closed just a little. And then the day continued, as it does. Now it's evening, the kind of quiet that comes after everything that needed to be done during the day has been done. The house feels different now. It's slower, softer. Lights are on. Everything's a little dimmer. There's no urgency in the air anymore, just a kind of settling. They're both in the same space again, not far from each other, but not fully together either. She's sitting on the couch, her legs tucked slightly underneath her, her phone resting in her hand. She scrolls and pauses, scrolls again, but there's a rhythm to it that feels more like distraction than attention. Every so often, she glances up, not directly at him, just into the room. He's in the kitchen, moving through small, ordinary tasks, rinsing a glass, wiping the counter, putting something away that doesn't really need to be put away right now, but he's doing it anyway. There's nothing urgent about what he's doing, and yet he stays there. Something from earlier is still present for him, not fully formed, not something either of them is consciously holding on to, but it hasn't left. It's in the space between them, in the way they're near each other, but not quite meeting. And then something happens that matters, not externally, but internally. He pauses. Not because he has a clear thought, but because something in him shifts just enough for him to notice. There's a subtle feeling, easy to ignore, a sense that something earlier didn't quite land. And if he keeps moving, he will continue with what he's doing. That feeling will pass. It will dissolve into the rest of the evening, like most of these moments do. And this is where something important lives, because this is the place where we usually don't turn back. We move forward. We let go. We tell ourselves, it wasn't a big deal. And sometimes it isn't. But the pattern is he stands there for another second, feeling that quiet hesitation. There's a part of him that wants to leave it alone, that says everything's fine. No need to make something out of it. And there's another quieter part. It's steady. It knows something didn't quite meet. And instead of pushing that aside, he stays with it. He dries his hands slowly, not rushing, not really delaying, just giving himself a moment to settle into the decision. Then he walks into the living room. She notices him, not fully, but enough. Her eyes lift briefly from her phone, then back down. He sits on the couch, not too close, not distant, just within the space. There's a pause, not awkward, but real. And in that pause, you can feel something beginning to open. He takes a breath and says quietly, "Hey, I've been thinking about something from earlier." That alone shifts the space. She looks up now, fully, because something in his tone signals this matters. He continues, not rushing. "When you asked about going for a walk, I don't think I was really there with you." There's no defensiveness in it, no explanation, no attempt to soften it with humor or redirect it. Just a simple, grounded acknowledgement. And what happens in her is immediate but subtle. Her body softens just slightly. Her shoulders, which had been holding a quiet tension she didn't fully notice, release a bit. Because something just happened that she didn't expect. He noticed. Not just what was said, but what wasn't met. She takes a breath, sets her phone down beside her. "Yeah, I felt that." And there's no sharpness in her voice, no stored frustration, just truth. And now something important is happening. They are back in the same moment, even though it has already passed. That's what repair does. It reopens something that felt closed. He nods slightly. "I think I was still caught up in my own head. I heard you, but I didn't really feel what you were asking." He pauses. He's not really trying to find the right words. He pauses because he's staying connected to what he's saying. "And I think it mattered more than I realized in the moment." That lands. Because now it's not just acknowledgement, it's recognition. She exhales more fully this time. "Yeah, I think I just wanted to feel like you wanted to spend some time together." And there it is. What was underneath the original question? Not the walk, the connection. He doesn't rush to fix it, doesn't immediately respond with, "Of course I do." Instead, he lets that land, lets himself feel it. And then he says, "Yeah, I can see that now." There's another pause. And then gently, he says, "Do you still want to go?" And this is where something shifts again, because now the moment isn't just acknowledged, it's re entered. She smiles slightly. "Yeah, I do." And this time it feels different. Not because the situation changed, but because the space between them did. Repair doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't undo the missed moment, but it changes the meaning of it. Because now the experience becomes, even when we miss each other, we can come back. And that creates something powerful. It creates trust, not perfection. Maybe this week you notice not just the moments where something doesn't land, but what happens after. The quiet space where something could be returned to. And instead of moving past it automatically, you pause. You turn back, even in a small way. Because connection isn't built on getting it right every time. It's built on the willingness to come back. See you next time.